Hey everyone, welcome to Armed and Educated, your source for information on guns, gear, and most importantly, the Second Amendment. If this type of content interests you, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. Also turn on those notifications so that you can see my upcoming videos, and feel free to follow me on social media. Now, let's get into it. Hey everyone, today we have a very special guest with us, Rick Ector. He's had a huge impact on the local firearms community, especially in Detroit area, and we are going to get some background into his history into firearms. So let's get into it. First, I want to know, how long have you been into guns?
It depends on how you want to define being into guns.
Right.
After I graduated from college years ago, man, I had always been told by the elders in the family that it was important for the patriarch of the family, to actually have a gun for the protection of the home and for, your spouse and for your children. And so I did what many people do. I bought a 12-gauge shotgun. Had some shells, and I was hoping and praying that I never had to actually use it. Well, one day down the road, I actually had an incident that was very pivotal. I was actually robbed at gunpoint by two guys in my driveway. And it was a watershed moment. It caused me to reevaluate my stance on guns. Wasn't anti-gun, but I wasn't a real huge gun rights enthusiast kind of guy. I just basically had a 12-gauge shotgun for home defense. And as I dove down this rabbit hole of investigating the Second Amendment, gun rights, and getting a concealed carry permit, I met some interesting people along the way. Some people virtually, just watching some of their videos on YouTube. One guy I followed a lot, who's actually a very good friend of mine, is Ken Blanchard, guy who runs a website called Black Man with a Gun. And as I explored that rabbit hole, I decided that I wanted to get a Michigan concealed pistol license. I pursued that, and I just devoted my time to consuming all of the personal protection information I could find on the internet. And eventually I got to a point where I felt that I was encountering diminishing returns for each additional hour that I put into learning more about personal protection. I wasn't really getting that much new information. And so I decided to go to instructor training. And it wasn't necessarily because I was looking to be an instructor at that point. I just thought that I might get just a little bit of info that the average gun carrier, gun toter doesn't have, that might give me an edge if I'm ever called upon to defend myself or my family. And so I became an instructor. I picked up some certifications. And eventually I decided to become a firearms instructor. And that journey itself has been quite the path. And I'm having fun today, man. Right before you came to meet me today, I just taught a smaller class, but I still get a thrill and kick out of empowering citizens every time I get to do a class.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I feel the same exact way. That's something that I always try to say is that, you don't have to be an instructor to be an instructor.
Right.
That's our responsibility as each and every firearms owner. It's our responsibility to see that moment and seize that opportunity. And it's even better when you can actually do it professionally and be able to do that. That's an awesome thing. So I know that you have some specific activities that you've gotten into, specifically the Legally Armed in Detroit. So tell us a little bit about that and how that got started.
I decided that I wanted to become more vocal in the Second Amendment community. And as I became more politically aware and politically active, doing research, doing my homework, I started blogging. Legally Armed in Detroit is my flagship blog site. It's been up for a number of years. And I do a lot of things with that site. Not only do I do promotional stuff, let people know when I'm having courses, if I'm ever so fortunate to be invited to be a guest on the show, I'll put links up there and let folks know what we're doing. And it gives me an opportunity to highlight some of the things that I'm doing. And the single most important or single most act or activity that I'm involved in that gives me the greatest sense of pride and pleasure is the annual event that I do for training women. 10 years ago, I noticed a news story on TV about a woman whose body was discovered on the street in Detroit, and that someone had killed her, sexually assaulted her, and just discarded her body. And I said, man, someone needs to do something about that. So I got with four fellow firearms trainers. We convinced the local gun range to give us some space. And we took to social media. I might have even publicized it on MySpace at the time. I still have a MySpace page, but I'm not out there, man. But I'm everywhere else. MySpace, Facebook, Instagram,
pretty sure I even had a
Twitter.
MySpace page.
You know, I have a YouTube channel. I mean, all this stuff that's out there, I was promoting it. And I had 50 women that showed up that first iteration. And, you know, I had mixed feelings about it. I thought 50 was pretty good for a training event. But I didn't make the type of impact that I was looking to do. And as I was talking to my mentor, my friend Ken Blanchard, Black Man with a Gun, he was telling me, man, just keep going. You know, keep growing the program. See how far you can take it. And so eventually, you know, I started growing the program. That 50 initial students grew to 100 and then went to 200. Last year, you know, due to the height of everything that was going on, we trained just under 2,000 women. It was in excess of 1,938 women we trained in a 2-day period across 2 gun ranges. We added another 1,000 earlier this year. And, man, not only am I still basking in the glow of that great activity of empowering women with the gift of personal protection, you know, giving them a range safety briefing and a shooting experience. But right before I met you today, I actually taught a couple who wanted to take a class, and they were looking for something a little more intimate, and I was able to provide that for them. And, man, I'll tell you, I feel great knowing that I'm making a difference in the life of someone else that's out there, man. And I feel pretty good.
That's good. That's awesome. Like you said, I actually recently made a video talking about gun owners in America in general and the false sense of who they are. You know, a lot of people think of just a typical white dude, you know, and I've been mentioning, you know, in that recently, we do see a lot more of minority communities and women specifically realizing how important the Second Amendment is and how important it is to own a gun. And that community has just been growing greatly within the last couple of years.
It has, man. And you look at some of the numbers that people are talking about and they're publishing in the national media and the national spotlight. You know, of course, the growth of women in the gun community has been huge, and it will continue to be huge. You know, there are other organizations that have popped up who represent other communities who are starting to gain a foothold into the gun world. And look, the more, the better. The more people that we can encourage to become firearm owners, the greater opportunity we have to convert them to our side, that the Second Amendment is worth fighting for and beating back, you know, legislators, politicians who want to chip away at our rights, which is basically, you know, the source of our strength with regards to maintaining our freedom, man. And that's ultimately what it's all about. Gun rights advocate. I preach and promote guns. Yes, I do it within the context many times of personal protection. But, you know, I want to sound like I'm going hardcore, man, but it's the last line of defense against tyranny. And I truly believe that the more people we bring into the fold, the more people that we train on fundamental firearm safety, gun ownership, personal protection, self-defense, we'll be okay. But we just have to continue to grow and respond to, you know, the changing demographics in the gun community.
Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned the changing demographics. Do you feel like with all the people that you've seen and all the people that you've trained, do you notice that there's any kind of pattern as far as their personal opinions on political affiliations or anything like that?
You know, one of the interesting things is that I found out is, though, I do an event. It's an educational event. Yes, it surrounds itself with guns and personal protection. But, you know, if you actually pay attention to some of the conversations, you know, there are people who come from every walk of life, man. You know, just with the ladies event, of course, they're all women, but they come from all races, all ages, different religions, different backgrounds, different politics. And I think that's just the nature of how things occur, because in my own personal path, you know, I wasn't necessarily a big, huge gun rights supporter. I wasn't a person who really supported people politically who were in support of guns. Today, that journey has taken me to a place that I can't even consider you as a candidate who's worthy of my vote if you're not pro-gun, if you don't believe in the Second Amendment. So I think the key, just the way I see it, is the more people that you get excited into guns and firearms training and personal protection, It's an individual journey that they're all going to go to. And I believe personally, they'll eventually get there. Whatever road they get to the main highway, man, it just gets them on that journey. They'll eventually turn up where we want.
Yep, I agree with you completely. That's what we're all about here. It's not about any particular group or anything like that. It's all about education and just making people realize that.
That's the key.
Yep, that the Second Amendment it's about being American. It's not about being a particular social group, a particular political group. It's simply about being an American, and that's all it comes down to.
Look, once you turn people on to guns and start dispelling a lot of the myths that they heard about firearms and the people who own firearms, and they start to see themselves as gun owners, then they internalize all the things that they've heard and say, well, look, I'm not this bad, evil person that these folks are saying that gun owners are. So maybe that's going to cause me to question some other things that they're pushing and promoting and furtherance of other agendas that they have. Let me tell you, I believe that we can do this thing. We can start this pathway to freedom, this pathway to supporting the Second Amendment with education and training people on guns. And yeah, I'm focused on women, and that's my thing. But if there are other people out there that want to focus their training activities on other groups and other segments of society, go for it. I will support you 100%. I have my calling and I have my thing. I'm going to continue to do it. And whatever their calling is, I'm happy to see it, and I'll give you all the moral support. And if I can pitch in a hand, I'll help you.
All right, great. I think that's going to conclude our interview. That's pretty much all I had to ask. But it was great. It was great talking to you. That was an interview with Rick Ector.
Man, thank you for having me. And hey, thanks for watching.
Thank you.